Hello, we are back on the build stage, the best stage. It's not the best stage, it's currently the best stage, because we're on it. And my new friend, Matt Marzillo, from Chicago, by the way, Chicago people, holler in the chat, from Snowflake, is here to talk to us about AI.
Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. So, speaking of really cool things, I hear you're celebrating a major milestone this week. Do you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, sure. So I was asked to provide a superpower. I humbly and honestly don't have a superpower, but my daughter does. This week is her 5-year survivorship. She was a leukemia survivor. She was diagnosed about 8 years ago, went through treatment for several years, and 5 years cancer-free. So that's going on this week. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. I mean, Build is important, Snowflake's important, Microsoft's important, but
that's
it's
more
nice
important
to have that reminder. Right.
What's her name?
Stella. Yep.
Congratulations, Stella. Good job. Okay, awesome. So, speaking of day job, Snowflake, fantastic company. You know, Microsoft partner. I've worked with you all for a long time, and I know that your customers have very specific use cases that they come to you for over and over and over.
Yep. Yeah.
What are some of these use cases that you've been seeing a lot of lately?
Yeah, so I mean, they tend to fall into several buckets, right?
Okay.
We tend to see a lot of Gen AI use cases, at least right now, as we're kind of getting our feet wet with this.
Yes.
A lot of use cases around making sense out of text information or documents.
Yes.
We also tend to see a lot of use cases around increasing efficiencies, right? Or doing something that we were doing before, but doing it a lot faster.
Okay.
And then we also see a lot of use cases around searching what data you have in any form and getting that return to you very quickly, right? And so, specifically in the retail sector, we're seeing a lot of sentiment analysis, right? So that sort of falls into saying, hey, making sense out of some text data or some documents that you have, understanding what your customers are thinking about you or your products. And then in the efficiency gain is personalized recommendations, right? Nothing new, right? We've been doing that for a while in retail, but there are lots of ways of doing it more intelligent, doing it quicker, doing it more efficiently with Gen AI capabilities.
Okay, so I, of course, am extremely biased toward retail cases. I run a fashion company. So this is very cool. Like looking at consumer sentiment, this is a thing AI can actually do, reason over all and all of that data and make some sense of it.
Right.
So I'm a believer that generative AI generates, and we should do cases that are good for Gen AI rather than throw every single use case on the planet as a Gen AI thing. Because not everything is a Gen AI. Some can be predictive AI from, back in the day.
Right, yeah. Not every problem is a Gen AI problem.
Right.
Also, what we're finding too is that problems that maybe weren't a Gen AI problem now can be solved a lot more quickly and a lot more efficiently with Gen AI.
Right.
And it's often a good place to start there with something that we've already kind of been solving, but we can do it more quickly and better.
That's right. So where does Azure fit in? Because I know that is a thing that you all integrate with.
Yes. So I guess more specifically, looking at what we have at Snowflake, so Snowflake has its own generative AI platform called Cortex, right? That's the kind of the big word here.
Cortex.
So within Snowflake, it's already generally available.
Okay.
We have all these experiences that allow our customers to use AI or generative AI in seconds, right? So you can use these pre-built functions with LLMs that we have inside of Snowflake.
Yep.
We have all these experiences around search, around document AI. We have our own Copilot.
You have your own Copilot?
Yes.
Go on.
We also have something called Streamlit, for those who aren't familiar. It's this really cool, basically a Python package that we have inside of Snowflake that allows our customers to very quickly develop applications that can be built on top of all of their generative AI functionality. Also within Snowflake is we have the functionality to bring in external LLMs or bring in your own LLM applications, and importantly for this conversation, make external calls to other generative AI platforms like Azure OpenAI and OpenAI.
Right, I love that.
Because the one thing is great is that the Snowflake platform is expanding, right? We have all these generative AI capabilities, but it gets confusing, right? Because Microsoft, I don't know if you heard, has some generative AI capabilities as well.
A few.
Yeah, so it's kind of use case dependent, right? So a lot of different use cases will kind of be used, you'll want to use the different LLM or different generative AI capability depending on the use case. Our product folks are smart enough to realize that, and you have the flexibility to very easily and securely set up these external calls to Azure OpenAI.
Okay, I love that, because what you're doing is leaning into where you all have the specialized information. Right, you have special data, you have special information, so you're able to build AI products that fulfill your specific use cases using things that already exist,
Yep.
like Azure OpenAI. But you also use your own custom models and things where it makes sense, in the use cases where it makes sense.
For sure.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And we have, I mean, we encourage our customers to go ahead and experiment with Cortex and use Cortex and use it in your production workloads.
Yeah.
But in addition to having this really great platform, Snowflake also put a stake in the ground of saying, hey, we have built our own generative AI model. We have our own LLM called Arctic, right? And there's kind of three big differentiators that go along with Arctic, right, or come with Arctic. Number one, it's enterprise grade, right? When you look at the benchmarks that we put out, it's right up there with a lot of the other top LLMs for a lot of different LLM use cases. Second, it's a breakthrough in efficiencies. We're using this thing called experts, right, that allows you to very quickly get your response back from a prompt with your context, so you're not, spending too much money, using too many tokens to get your answer back from generative AI. And then lastly, it's truly open. It's part of the Apache project.
Oh, nice.
You don't have to give your mother's maiden name, your email, or a bank account number. You can go ahead and use the models as you like. And also, very importantly, it's available. Arctic is available inside of the Azure Model Catalog right now. So if you're not yet a Snowflake customer, you can use Arctic inside of Snowflake, obviously. But if you're not yet a Snowflake customer, you can use Arctic inside of Azure right now.
I like that. In the model catalog, models as a service, this is exactly what we should be doing as a tech industry, right? Making models available to people for their specific use cases where they already live, where they are at, rather than trying to make them go switch to something else. So I think people should try that out if you're Azure customer, not yet a Snowflake customer. But if you're a Snowflake customer, obviously use it this way. I hear you have a demo of some sort. Do you?
That's right, yeah. So let's take a look at the very simple architecture.
Okay.
And I love simple architectures.
I love that.
Of this demo that we have, right? So the idea being is that everything is inside of Azure, right? Reminder to everyone that when you deploy Snowflake, you're going to deploy it to a cloud. Snowflake is going to be right on top of Azure, right? It's going to be using blob storage under the hood. It's going to be using Azure Compute. So what you have here, those first three purple squares are kind of showing standard what you do in Snowflake. You have some data, you do some feature engineering, and you make a dimensional model, or you have some data, whether that's a dimensional model or unstructured, right, inside of Snowflake. And the key comes in that fourth square, where we have the Streamlit. That's that crown right there. That's the package that we have that allows you to build applications quickly and easily in Snowflake. And then that little mountain there, because Snowflake loves naming everything after.
I see that. I see a
Arctic,
theme.
right? So that's called Snowpark External Access, right? And Snowpark External Access is a available functionality that allows our customers to very easily and securely connect to external services. So that's like the key linchpin that allows our customers to make the external call to Azure OpenAI.
Okay, I like that. What is it? Say it again. Snowpark
External
Access.
SPEA.
You're naming things like we are now. Yeah, I know. Snowpark External Access.
Why not another acronym?
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
SPEA. Okay, I got you. Okay, go on. Go on.
All right, so let's take a look at what it winds up looking like.
Okay. Oh, I like this. Wardrobe recommender.
So it's a wardrobe recommender.
Okay.
So what we
Everyone
have.
pay attention. Pay attention. Okay, do it.
So what we have right here is the actual application, right?
Okay.
What a user would have to do is enter some sort of prompt.
Yes.
We defaulted with this prompt of reviewing the image and selecting an image of a person and what they're wearing. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be accessing this image that's sitting inside of Snowflake. And then we're also going to grab a table of URLs to other clothing items and then pass that to Azure OpenAI and ask Azure OpenAI for a recommendation, saying, hey, look at this image, look at the way this person's dressed, look at these URLs, and tell us which of these URLs are the best fit for this person.
Okay.
Had I known that you were going to be as great.
Fashion-y?
There we go. Yeah. I probably would have picked some better outfits, but you can see we have this gentleman wearing a white suit.
Yeah.
And the application and Azure OpenAI come back with some pretty good recommendations,
I like
right?
that you went to real things.
Yeah. So we have a blue Poplin Tommy Hilfiger shirt. And yeah, great. A white.
Love it.
Yeah. Chambray suit separate that I think that gentleman would probably wear. And the really cool thing about this is that this is all 41 lines of code, right? So this is 41 lines of code inside of Streamlit. It's all inside of Snowflake. You don't have to manage any infrastructure. And we have a quick start that's on quickstarts.snowflake.com. You can go in there, search OpenAI. We have several quick starts. If you already have a Snowflake account, if you already have an Azure OpenAI service, not exaggerating, you can set this up in probably 30, 40 minutes.
Do you have a GitHub repo for this? Because I'm extremely interested in it.
Yes, and it does link to a GitHub repo.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. we did not plan that. I thought he was going to say no, and I was going to assign him homework to make one. So that backfired. But that's awesome. I love this because it's a problem for people, not just me, but for people, right? I like this kind of thing for this conference. I'm going to Chicago for Ignite. What should I wear, right? Something like that. I love this. This is like the Netflix recommendation engine, but in 46 lines of code and not with many more lines of code.
Yep. Yeah.
Isn't that funny how tech can just solve these, like you were saying, things that used to be hard but possible are now way the heck easier.
Yeah, that's right. And so the way that this is set up, so the 41 lines of code here is the application that utilizes the function.
Yeah.
You got to create that function. That's in one other script. So it's, and that's, I think, 30 or 40 lines of code.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking 2 scripts. That's it. That allows you to develop an application, connect to Azure OpenAI, and provide some recommendations.
I love that.
I do
That's
too.
a great use case. That is a great use case. So this is your use case around wardrobe recommendations, fabulous. And then as people, retail establishments, there's like 65 steps in the process. I liked one of those earlier ones where it's getting customer feedback on things, right? How are you doing sentiment analysis?
Yep. So we talked about some of the pre-built experiences that are inside of Snowflake.
Yeah.
So we literally have a sentiment function inside of Snowflake.
Oh, you do?
Right.
Has that always been there, or is that AI
That's
thing?
relatively new. Yeah, that's part of the. So anything that's using Gen AI and Snowflake is going to be called part of Cortex, right?
Okay, so the Cortex bucket is all your Gen AI stuff. In it is Arctic, which is your model, and with all of these other things in it. Okay, so Cortex is your Gen AI bucket of stuff. I got you.
Right. So part of that Cortex bucket is a sentiment function.
Okay.
And what you can do is you can call that sentiment function, leveraging whatever LLM you'd like to, and understand what your customer feels about you. Right.
Okay.
So again, what was once maybe a slightly more complicated problem, detecting sentiment analysis, is now a whole heck of a lot easier with Snowflake Cortex.
So have you found that the accuracy is way up? Because that's always my question. Like, can you do sentiment analysis? Yes, you can. Could do it 10 years ago, too.
Right.
But I don't know about the accuracy all the time. What do you think now?
I think the accuracy is getting better and better. It's starting to asymptote, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's only so much better we can get with sentiment analysis. But it's getting a lot easier to do, right? So in sentiment analysis, one of those, it's a really great way to, like, just start using generative AI, right? It's something that a lot of us can understand. It's a lot of us can wrap our heads around. And we know, and like, you can start to kind of like battle test it a little bit out there in the wild. It's like, hey, does this customer really like us? Does this customer really not like us? How much do they like us? Does this really pass the sniff test? And it's a good way for customers to kind of understand that, yes, it is working.
Well, I think it's a good, what is the word? It's a good test, right? Because some wardrobe recommender, it's hard to test that. It's like, is this a good outfit for me, yes or no? I don't know. Maybe I have bad taste, or maybe this has bad taste. We can't tell. But sentiment analysis, we know the reviews on this thing are actually quite terrible. Why is it telling me good sentiment? Right? It's the human checkingness, the human in the loop part is simpler for a use case like that.
For sure. And I mean, and kind of extend that a little bit more as far as like how to leverage text data or documents inside of Snowflake. We have our own ability to do search, right, and use embeddings and create a vector data type right inside of Snowflake. So yes, so sentiment's a lot easier inside of Snowflake, but also now it's a lot easier to create embeddings inside of Snowflake, to use those embeddings to find data, to find answers quickly, to find context, right? We talk about RAG a lot here, right? So you can use those embeddings inside of Snowflake.
So you can ground in a lot more things too, right? And say like, so you could ground in the data of these phrases tend to be good, positive, bad, et cetera. What was the third use case? I forgot. So one was sentiment, second one was retail or recommendation. What was the third one?
So I only showed 2 use cases, but I mentioned 3 buckets. The third bucket I didn't show a use case for was, basically some sort of search functionality, right? So, and we have
search functionality.
Yes,
that's what it was.
So the idea is that inside of Snowflake, you can have structured data, you can have semi-structured data, you can have unstructured data, right? We're entering this new world where that's all going to be open and easily open to an entire organization, right? So somebody who is an analyst in the marketing department, rather than having to run to a DBA or run to an engineer to ask them to query some data or find the answer, they can find it themselves, right?
Okay,
Just with some plain text, leveraging a lot of the functionality that we have built inside of Cortex.
I like that this enables people to be a little more free. They can do stuff for themselves more. Autonomy. I love autonomy. We love autonomy.
Yes,
right?
and the engineers are going to love not getting bothered by the marketing person saying, hey, can you drop what you're doing and spend 45 minutes trying to figure out this query for me?
Your marketing people, you're welcome. Listen to the man. Okay, listen.
And
All right.
finance people. Yeah.
Well, finance people, we usually need money and they say, no, go away. Okay, so Matt, it has been a joy talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Where can people find you? What homework do you have, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I think first things first, if you're here at Build,
Yes.
go ahead and head over to the Partner Expo. We have
Right
a
there.
booth right over there. There's plenty of lovely Snowflake people there who are going to want to talk to you about all that we have inside of Cortex and some of
Yeah.
the fun stuff that
Ask
we're
for a
doing.
demo.
Yes, yeah, and some of the fun stuff we're doing with Iceberg and Fabric too, which is really cool.
I love it.
Also, check out quickstarts.snowflake.com. Search OpenAI,
Quickstarts.snowflake.com.
search Azure, search
Yeah.
Microsoft. There's plenty of quick starts
Yeah.
out there to show our joint customers how to use Snowflake with Microsoft.
Yep.
And lastly, talk to your Snowflake account team. Ask them for some help. Ask them for help showing how to use Snowflake with Microsoft and Azure.
But definitely do the quick start thing because you can do that right now.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Matt. This
Thank
has
you.
been a joyful conversation. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you, Stella.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful build.
Thanks a lot.